Julius Erving, Dr. J himself of ABA and NBA fame, said that the Nets, one-time New York Net, Dr. J, by the way, after the Virginia Squires in the ABA, wound up on the New York Nets, best player in the league, MVP, put up crazy numbers, crazy highlights. He's the greatest player in Nets history, right? He said they're buying a championship. He compared Brooklyn to the New York Yankees and to the Los Angeles Lakers. Dr. J said it's reminiscent of how the Yankees used to do it all the time. Talking to Danny Green on Danny Green's podcast. They load up and they call it buying a championship. The Lakers are known for doing it too. They're just buying a championship, man. They're getting all these pieces. Now let me just say something about this. That is true. They're loading up and they're getting all these pieces. It is unfair. Pardon. It is unfair in a league with a salary cap, even if it's a soft cap, like the NFL has a hard cap. They don't care how long you've been there, or they're not making any exceptions. You got to get under the cap. The NBA, they have a salary cap, but if you're already on the team, you can grandfather in your contract, pass the cap, all this stuff. But in a league with a cap, to say someone's buying a championship doesn't really work. Have the Yankees bought championships? Yes, they have. Although most of the years that the Yankees outspent all the other teams is not when they've won. They're usually among the leaders in terms of spending dollars, even in years where they haven't been number one, and certainly it's correlated to winning. But actually, when they've tried to buy the championship, it's rarely worked. Sometimes it's worked, but it's rarely worked. But you could say the Nets or the Lakers are buying championships? Well, here, you know what's interesting about that? Here we have a league with a cap. So everyone spends the same. I mean, certain teams are willing to pay luxury tax money, but I suspect any team in the league that could get KD and James Harden and Kyrie would take them. Any team in the league that could get LeBron and AD on the same team, they'd take them, and they'd pay luxury tax if they had to. So it's the reason it's an interesting case study is here are the Brooklyn Nets in New York. They're not allowed to spend more money than other teams. There's a cap. Well, yeah, but they have New York as a market. Really? So do the Knicks. The Knicks tried to get the same players, couldn't get them. I mean, Julius Randle's turned out to be a revelation for the Knicks, and Lakers fans know him well, drafted him 8th overall. Was it 7th or 8th? It was right after Marcus Smart got drafted by the Celtics. And I remember this because there was a regular season game toward the end of the season, maybe in the last game of the season, the year of that draft. And I wanted the Lakers to tank because I liked Smart more than Julius Randle. And they beat the Celtics in a regular season game, which I felt was meaningless, and wound up with Randle. But right now, Smart's been excellent. Randle's a better player right now. But the Knicks didn't know that when they signed him. They gave him $10 million because they couldn't get anyone else to take their money. So the Knicks have been around forever, and they never get top free agents, ever. They have the same New York market. Or why can't they buy a championship? The Clippers in L.A. have never been to a conference finals. I feel confident the Clippers can hang another second-round banner this year, maybe. But they've never even been. First-round banner. They've never hung a second-round banner. Maybe. It'd be nice if the Clippers could hang a second-round banner up in the rafters there. It'd mean they got to the conference finals at least. They have the LA market. Why haven't the Clippers been able to attract free agents until very recently? Because it ain't in the NBA about the market exclusively. And there's no such thing as buying a championship in the NBA. It depends on how well you run your franchise. I'll leave the Yankees out of this because there is no cap in baseball, although the luxury tax threshold for repeat offenders is so severe that teams really get punished for that, and even the Yankees want to stay under it now. Let's stick to the NBA. Lakers fans, I love me some Dr. J. And by the way, Dr. J's team, the Virginia Squires, couldn't afford to keep him, so he got traded to the New York Nets of the ABA, and then he got a good deal to go to the NBA and make a lot of money with the Sixers and won his only NBA championship when the Sixers got Moses Malone, who was the best, apologies to Bird and Magic and even Kareem back then, but there were a couple years where Moses Malone was the best player in the league. That's why he won MVP. And once the Sixers got Moses Malone, then they won the championship. Dr. J, Moses Malone, those guys weren't drafted by the Sixers. And I'm not saying anything like Dr. J has a lot of nerve. Love me some Dr. J. I'm just saying when he says that, that's not an insult. It's a compliment. Because in the NBA, if you're quote-unquote buying a championship, what it means is everyone wants to play for you. Everyone wants to be on that team. And Lakers fans, understand, don't let anyone down you over that. When I was a Knicks fan growing up, I'm a Lakers fan now. Moved to LA to do afternoon drive at one point. Thought, not giving up my Yankees or my New York football Giants. No real conflict there. But no one's trying to hear the local radio guy root for another team. Can I be a Lakers fan? I thought, hell yeah. What have the Knicks ever done for me? The Lakers, when I was a kid, I used to think, how did the Lakers always get that? They got Kareem and Magic, then later on, wait, how'd they get Shaq, and now they got Kobe? Like, how does that happen for the Lakers all the time? And I never hated on them. I just wanted the Knicks to be like them. But a lot of people hate on the Lakers. I'm not saying Dr. J is. I'm saying he's echoing a sentiment where a lot of people say, well, the Lakers buy a championship. No. Well, it's because they're in L.A. Really? Then what haven't the Clippers won any championships? No. That, when people say that, they're trying to down the Lakers, who simply have been run better than any other franchise by so much. It's embarrassing. The Lakers have embarrassed the rest of sports how much better they're run than the rest of sports. When Dr. Buss bought that team in 1979, they had 6 championships. The Celtics had 13. You blink, and they're both at 17. I mean, a lot of decades have passed. But no one's come close to the Lakers' success since Dr. Buss bought the team. They just won their 11th championship last year in that time. You know who the next closest franchise is? The Bulls have won 6 in that time. With Michael freaking Jordan, who played all his prime with the Bulls. They won 6. The Lakers have almost twice as much. The Celtics have won 4 since Dr. Buss bought the team. The Spurs have won 5. No one's getting close to the Lakers.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.